Okay, recording.
So I'm going to try to facilitate this one. So bear with me as a new person. Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever applies to you. Matt, are you going to take notes on the agenda?
We all kind of chip in and take notes. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't know if I can do more than one thing at one time.
No. You definitely do not have to take notes.
Okay, good. They would not be very good notes if that's the case.
Yeah, we realized at one point that it's really hard to facilitate a meeting and take the notes.
Okay. Okay, good. I'm glad it's not just me, because I would feel very inadequate if it was, but that's okay. All right, so don't forget to sign. Everybody has the link to the meeting minutes. If you don't, they're in the chat. And if you are new, we would like you to sign in under attendees and add how you're feeling or one thing on your desk we don't see. So yeah. All right, the first thing on the agenda is the mentorship, Google Summer of Code. So who wants to talk about that?
I can talk about the Augur projects that we have going on.
Awesome, thanks, Sean.
Sure, we have two students who are doing GitHub or GitLab workers for us, and Gabe and Carter refactored some of our code, and the students are actually making exceptional progress on those workers, much faster than the students we've had before, probably because we've learned how to do Google Summer of Code over the years. And we have 3 students doing machine learning, and right now they are in more of an experimental phase, trying to figure out what kinds of models work and how portable some models of some phenomena, for example, identifying anomalies in language in comments can be identified, or spikes can be identified using different algorithms. So we have 3 students doing that, and then there's 1 student working on large-scale network analysis, and I think their project's extremely ambitious. So I'm working on scoping that with them. That's about it. It's going well. It's going well.
Did you also see the email that came out? I think some evals are starting to come due.
Yeah, July 3rd, the first evaluations are due.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll get those in. I mean, I know in the past I missed one deadline because I was at OSCON, so I will not miss the deadline this time.
It was already 2 years ago. But
was it 2 years ago? Yeah. Okay. Who's keeping track?
But who's keeping track, right?
Not me.
Not me either. Okay.
Anybody
so you're
else?
All set there.
Yep. That's what I have to say about. That's about all I have to say about that. In the words of somebody famous.
Okay.
Anyone else want to chip in with any insight or feedback or updates on Google Summer of Code?
Georg, do you have Grimoire Lab stuff at all? Insight?
I have a little bit insight to how RIA is doing with the social currency metric system implementation. RIA is doing really well mastering what the SCMS is and building out the tooling on top of Grimoire Lab and integrating that. So that's going well. I do not have insights to the other Google Summer of Code student working on Grimoire Lab.
Yeah, well, I can tell about it. Yeah, so my project is also going pretty well. Right now it's the 3rd week, like we completed 3 weeks, and I almost finished my coding period 1 task, which I have planned in the timeline. So I have started working on a few more other things, like, adding support for other data sources. Yeah, it's going pretty well.
What are you adding support for other data sources, Venu?
The first thing we started was with GitLab data source. We added support for GitLab issues and merge requests. right now I completed it and moved on to Git as well as Pipermail mailing list data source.
Okay. And I don't think from a student perspective, the July 3rd deadline has no impact on students, right? It's only mentors.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think its mentors have to submit evaluation.
Okay.
All right, that's awesome. If there's nothing else, we'll move on to Outreachy. Who has stuff for that?
We're providing the updates on badging, which includes Outreachy, later in the meeting today. We have a lot of updates for you guys.
Coming soon. Awesome.
Tola, how are things going on your end? If you're
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So everything is going well as planned. Currently, we are working on building the translation roadmap to translate Markdown files from different languages. So we've been able to host WebBlitz locally using Docker Compose. So we've been able to also work on the translation content using WebBlitz. But currently we have some issues from WebBlitz because WebBlitz doesn't translate Markdown documents. So we have to go through the P04 process, so which has really been challenging kind of. So we looked at implementing Localize. Localize is a new translation tool we just found out. So currently we are exploring Localize because it provides support for Markdown documents, and it's kind of provides a lot of implementation on different frameworks, React, Angular, and all that. But so far we've documented most of our processes and everything is working out fine.
Right on. Thanks.
Is there anyone else that wants to add anything under Outreachy?
Oh,
Okay.
I'm good. I think it's
Okay.
our first invoice is coming due. So just from a purely internal logistical thing, we have a little bit to sort out there. So I've been assured that it's all fine. So
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's all fine.
yep.
Someone else's problem. Okay, so let's jump ahead to Google Season of Docs. Who wants to jump in?
I just have an update regarding GSOD. I sent a mail to the mailing list regarding the proposal template and a few other guidelines, like adding the participant name in the GSOD interest page. So if you are a student and you are on the call right now, please go to the mailing list and check that. That's it.
So then it was it's following the Google Summer of Code format approximately.
Yeah, exactly the same.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. So when you would it be possible for you to share the link for like the mailing list link, the specific thread link? Maybe like I might have missed it.
Okay, I'll send it right in the chat now.
Oh yeah,
I'll
sure.
send it in a few minutes.
Yeah, sure. And other thing I would like to update about this Google season on docs is like I have been researching out some stuff for the chaos white community book, and I recently like just set up the demonstration part for the Gitbook platform. Like I along with the George have been following it up, and we recently configured out some ways of editing the stuff and how things happen inside the Gitbook platform and how the syncation happened with the Gitbook and the GitHub. So I have shared the link within the this meeting notes. It's like it's under the Gitbook update, so you can view it about like how the phase looks like from the like the user end. But if you want to get access like edit access to the Gitbook platform, maybe like you have to ping some of the admin or the owner who's maintaining the Gitbook. So yeah, rest I'll just keep you guys updated about this stuff, and I just try to work on more like and figure out like what else things can be improved.
Thanks for your work on that, Jessica. I think it looks good.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. It looks great.
And hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so I proposed my GSOT proposal to the governance repository, and actually it was not in the GSOC format, but it was in a pretty good format. I will share the link in the chat. And we recently had a discussion with Matt, Ashka, and Morton, and we discussed about the D&I badging process. As this project is in the beginning stage, it was really pretty good. It was going very well. I understand the workflow and how the CHAOSS D&I badging project goes. And I made a draft and I made a tentative timeline and how I am going to spend my next few weeks for the GSOT. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay. Anybody else have anything on the students or any of those programs? If not, we'll move forward.
I just want to highlight that students should really be courageous to share their experience, even the challenges that they are facing, be it in the Google Summer of Code, Doc, Outreach, because sometimes they might be going through certain difficulties and a community member can just chip in and give them some guidelines. So the mailing list is really helpful in this kind of discussions as well. And it also gives an insight of, the students' like level of engagement. It's helpful.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Other thing I just wanted to add, like I'm already in touch with the Armstrong and George about my proposal for the Google season on docs, and I'm almost complete with my proposal. Like I've shared the links with them, but if you feel like I'll just share the link with the other members also with the community. So yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Cool. Thanks.
Hello everyone. Am I also audible to everyone? Hi. So I think this is the first meeting now that I'm attending today. I just came across the CHAOSS Committee Handbook that everyone was working on. So I was pretty intrigued by that as a part of the GSOT project. So that's why I was thinking to contribute to that particular project as well. So if it's possible, like I would like also to have the access for that particular project so like I can also start contributing on it. I also have some previous technical writing experience already. So I think that will help me working on this or getting started on this project as well. So now, like once I get the access, then I think I'll just start working on my proposal and then maybe get it reviewed by the mentors.
Yep, happy to give you access. Could you email me, please? Or respond to one of the emails on the mailing list?
Yeah, actually,
I think,
did.
Reha, you sent a mail and I copied Gyok. Is that, am I correct?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I think Gyok, you are part of the discussion. If you look in the mailing list, I copied you in one of the mail that Reha sent.
Right. I did share my email in the mailing list as well. I'll just probably share it again once again.
Okay, I see it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ria. It's nice to have you join as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think we're all squared away. So we can come back if someone has something else they didn't get to vocalize. But for now, let's go ahead and push ahead to the metrics release, since that's kind of a big deal. As it says in the agenda, all PRs have to be in this week. Do we want to talk about, what do we need to discuss about this?
I think,
and we want to give updates, or?
We did updates last week. I think every working group is probably pretty aligned at this point, would be my guess.
If not, it's a little too late. So
yeah, speak now or speak now.
Right. I think we said there's what, 11? Is that what the final number was? We think we're gonna have?
It's like 11 to 14.
14. Okay, somewhere in there,
Yep.
Depending on how things go. So
and
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, the only one that's not going to have metrics is value, but they're doing a rework of the focus areas.
Yeah, so that's kind of in transition anyway, so it would be a little tricky to wrap one up that quickly.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, I guess that wasn't that big of a topic then after all.
It was a reminder, I think.
Gotcha. Does anybody have anything else to add to this, or anything in concerns or something they want to bring? No, we're good. Awesome. Okay, so let's move on.
Oh, wait, I had one thing. Remember, we were talking about making a short video on the release and then attaching it to a blog post.
Yeah. So we were chatting informally about this yesterday, Matt and Sean and I. And is that right? Who was on that call? No, I don't know who was on that call.
Georg, maybe.
I know you were. Okay. Georg. Okay. We were thinking that maybe that would be a good idea to just do a quick, 2-minute long video, something like that, just to discuss the metrics and kind of highlight them, and just a quick, different way to present the information to the community. What does everybody think about that? Don't everybody talk at once.
Like a video, I mean, means a lot of things, right? So, like, are we talking about somebody does a bunch of interviews and then somebody edits it together and it sort of makes us look exciting?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think this was Matt's brain idea. So I'm not sure. I don't want to speak for him, but I kind of envision just someone, maybe like just some visual numbers or something to demonstrate kind of what the metrics represent, and then, or just like a voiceover. That's what I was kind of thinking, but Matt might have a different idea. So
yeah, me too. Just a short video that mostly just kind of highlights maybe all of the metrics, but particularly the ones coming out in the latest release. And then it's a short video. I think Dawn had brought this up before, like do a video and just post it in a blog. Something really, really simple. And then we can tweet that out as well.
Yeah, the advantage of doing a video is you could show some of the visualizations for some of the metrics, and people just consume information differently. So some people might appreciate having a short 3-minute video to consume the release.
So is the video to highlight what is new and compile all of that, or are we creating one video for each new metric?
I was thinking the former. One video for each new metric would be lots of videos.
Yeah, I agree. I think we could just do a quick, kind of just like a recap. Like, hey, in case you missed it or in case you don't want to read, here we're going to throw this information at you visually. And that's kind of what I was thinking too.
What I'm hearing is the video would basically be kind of a video version of the release notes.
Yeah, I think that the release notes can be the script or foundation for the script of the video.
That's a good idea.
Kevin, you were very quiet, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Is that better?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that
I'm
was
willing to help with that, by the way, if anyone wants to volunteer to work on that.
Kevin, I'll work on that with you if you want.
Okay, sounds good.
Or if you don't want, too bad. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
How about we start a Google Doc to start on the script and to start planning out what we want to show as we say different things.
You're so organized. Sure. I mean, I can't say no to that. So yes, let's do that.
York has a fantastic way of working, well organized.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, we're moving right along. All right, let's go forward to working groups versus user groups, SIG or focus groups. Do we want to rename the app ecosystem working group?
So this has been a conversation for ever since we started the app ecosystem working group, because we have the working groups that work on metric definitions. And now we have the app ecosystem working group, which is not really defining metrics yet. We might be, but more looking at how can we use metrics in the context of foundations that look across many different projects. And we've talked in the past about maybe naming them differently. And so I was talking yesterday with the app ecosystem working group, and they're open to renaming. The feedback on using the word user group is that user group sounds very much like software users. Even though in our case, I think of it more as metric users, but that just does not resonate with them. And special interest group or focus group would be a better option in the working group's opinion. So I just wanted to bring this conversation here and see if there are any new thoughts on this.
Yeah, can I say something? I think it's a good idea of considering renaming the app ecosystem. However, if we take away the ecosystem in it, then might be that also can pose a misunderstanding. Because a great idea maintaining that, giving the dimensionality of things they are covering, looking how foundations that are looking across related projects, that's really the definition of an ecosystem.
So
yes, go ahead, please.
Is the app ecosystem building metrics? Is that group building metrics?
I think for now, no, but like York said, in due course, it will be considering that. I think they are still laying the foundations to see the challenges of things like their roadmap. They're still laying down foundations for their roadmap.
So I'm sorry, we would leave app ecosystem and only rename the working group part. So that would become the app ecosystem user group or app ecosystem special interest group or focus group.
It feels like a layer above, like a layer of above metrics. Like like I don't know, it is a different kettle of fish than the other ones.
Yeah, it's not a working group the way we have working groups defined. I think both SIG or focus group are good. I'd say +1 to SIG. I think that makes sense, and it allows us it allows us the ability to create these groups when we need to, and they don't have as much permanence as a working group.
That's interesting that you say that, because the Kubernetes community has defined them in the opposite way. A SIG is something that's permanent and exists for a long time in a continuous way, and a working group is something that's spun up when needed and then eventually disbanded. So I wouldn't say I have no issue with calling it a special interest group, but I don't think we should do it because it implies something shorter. I think it actually implies the opposite.
I think it's just a way of differentiating between the two. So focus group would be fine too, but the working group is our version of a SIG if we're comparing it to Kubernetes. So at that point, it's just terminology. So
well, I'm not so sure, because I think after some period of time, the 4 or 5 working groups that are building metrics are going to run out of metrics to actively build at the same rate, and these special interest groups may become I mean, my experience with special interest groups is the same as Dawn's, that they're more durable generally than working groups. They never go away. They refuse to die usually.
Yeah, I feel like we're overthinking this. I really kind of feel like this is just I really feel like this is just a committee. It's a group of people who are meeting to talk about something, and they may or may not continue to exist. It's like a subcommittee or something. I don't know. I feel like we've had this conversation over and over and over in this meeting, and we just keep having this conversation. I think we should pick something and just deal with it.
SIG is fine with me. I think special interest group is a good name, and I think it's a good name.
If there's confusion with the terminology that Kubernetes uses, though, maybe focus group is just go with focus group, so we're not confusing people.
I'm +1 on SIG.
I'm +1 on SIG too.
Just
SIG
that's all I'll say.
That's all. I would vote for SIG as well, and that makes more sense. I think people know what that is.
I don't think it'll sink the ship. So
no.
Related to renaming the app ecosystem, another effort we have that is similarly looking at using metrics is the badging project. Do we want to also name that in the same way, the badging SIG?
Yeah, I mean, because it's a way to think about the deployment of metrics. You know, we'd always just called it like a program, but yeah.
Let me cycle back. Why do we need to call this something that's not a working group? Why is this so different?
Like, why do we need to name it, or why not just keep working group?
Yeah, why not be the app? I forget what it was called, modernization working group or whatever. Sorry, I've lost my notes.
App ecosystem.
I mean, app ecosystem. Sorry. Why is it not just a working group like everything else? I mean, working groups don't have to be permanent. If it serves its function for a period of time and then goes away, is that bad? I don't know.
The idea was to have a difference between the metric defining working groups and other types of working groups, but we don't need to make that distinction. We can just forever bury this conversation.
But
if you look at other projects, they have working groups that span like a ridiculous breadth of different stuff.
Like I would say, go ahead, Dawn.
I just feel like we're making an artificial distinction that and spending a lot of time on it that we don't need to. I think I don't know.
Health and sustainability is the point. And the badging program or working group or SIG or airplane serves that goal of measuring health and of sustaining healthy open source projects. So even though it may not be a metric, I think it still serves exactly the same purpose as a metric defining working group, just in a slightly different vehicle. I don't want to confuse people.
Okay, I'm okay with just leaving the conversation, leaving it with working group, and keep it simple.
I think it probably does make sense, though, to be a little more rigorous around developing the charters for each of our working groups, so that people can go to the homepage of the working group, and this is what this working group does. And I think especially if we have working groups that do different things, I think if we're just clear about what this working group does, then we should be good.
That's good. Yep. But we've been talking about this for so long. Don't you just want to change it now? Just come this far.
Let's just table it and talk about it in the next meeting. That was a joke. Don't put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
No,
too late. It's already out.
Just kick it down the road.
All right, decisions are being made left and right. I love this so much. Okay, so should we move on to the Git book update?
That sounds good, like a good plan to me.
I think we already had that update.
Okay, there's nothing else to add. Those working on that. Okay. Let's talk about the podcast, Chaos Cast.
I'm
Georg,
always
you
happy
wanna-
to talk about the podcast.
Okay, I will.
Go for it.
So we were chatting yesterday about just trying to simplify the process for organizers, especially since it's kind of a lot of work right now if someone wants to organize a podcast. And since I'm here and willing, ready, and able to assist, I'm going to be doing that. So essentially what's going to happen is an organizer will still come up with the idea and the speaker that they, or the guest, I guess, that they want to interview and bring on, and also discuss topics and things like that. And then I'm essentially going to do all the other stuff. So coordinating a time and a date with everyone, the panelists and the interviewee, and the organizer, and making sure that that's available in the Zoom space that we use. So I'll be doing all of that. I'll send out the confirmation emails, all of that kind of stuff, just to make sure everyone's on the same page and that everyone has all the information that they need to do the podcast. And then after it is the point at which the podcast gets recorded and published, all of that process won't change. That will all stay the same as it has been. And then from then, when it's all said and done and published, I will send a little thank you packet that we've been working on to the interviewee. So yeah, I'm just here to streamline, and we'll iterate on the process as we go. Things that if we find rough spots, we'll smooth them out. And if anybody has any questions or comments or feedback on that, feel free to let me or Georg know, or Matt, whoever. Anything else to add to that, you guys?
I just want to say thank you for your support and helping us make streamlining the process, making it easier for everyone.
Agreed. Thanks.
I'm happy to do that. So if anyone needs any links or anything to the process as it stands, I will be updating the community handbook with all the new stuff. I just haven't gotten that far yet. So, but that will come, and then you can the process will be as transparent as it always has been. So yeah, stickers.
Stickers. So everyone who shows up on the podcast as a panelist or guest is getting stickers now.
And a thank you note.
The only way to get that, right, is you have to be a part of the podcast to get that special sticker. So
yeah.
Or live in Omaha.
Edition.
Or live in Omaha, right?
Sorry, Matt. No.
He's gonna knock on the door. I want my sticker.
Well, Matt was on the podcast, so he gets one.
I get one.
Oh, okay. Any questions about that from anybody?
Nope.
Okay.
Not for me.
Let's see what's next. D&I badging updates.
Hello. I have some updates for you. I'm going to pull the agenda here so I'm not looking to the side the whole time. I'm going to give the update for the workflow because Asta was not able to make it to the meeting today. I just wanted to mention that the framework is being worked on. It's almost finished, actually, to the point where next week we're going to start recruiting, if that's the right word for it. But we're going to try to get people on for testing the reviews process, the workflow, everything like that. That's pretty much the big parts of the work for the project. Other than we're going to be working on automation through GitHub bots. And if we have, I put accounting for scope creep because if we have time, we're going to work on a application with which you can submit a pull request through GitHub. And if that is not within time, me and Sala will be working on that outside of that. I noticed someone had mentioned something about getting an updated timeline. We have an old kind of crusty timeline right now, so we're working on getting that updated in our one-on-one before the next meeting comes around on next Tuesday. It looks like we might not have that meeting, so I'll let that happen there. But next meeting we have here, we'll have that updated timeline. And looks like totally you covered a lot of the things from this translation framework, but is there anything you want to add on top of that?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Matt, I have a question for you.
Of course.
In terms of the process, it sounds like you chose the pull request approach as opposed to, okay.
And we actually have a few things that we were looking at using GitHub gists for the review system. But we figured out that organizations cannot make gists by themselves, and you'd have to have your name tied to it somehow. So we decided to go for a full pull request workflow with bots.
Okay. So will someone initiate the PR within GitHub, or will they initiate it via a web page? I know Asta was kind of looking at a couple different.
The process of this is defining it a little better. Part of that is the documentation. But we are looking at you add a PR that adds your name to the list and of the badge projects, and whether or not you get a successful badge, you will get a badge of some sort, and then that badge is added by the reviewer, and as well as the comments are going to be adding the actual reviews. And we've got a checklist that they go through, and they're just going to like transparently put that out as a comment on the PR. And the whole workflow is pretty much going to take place on GitHub.
Okay.
Does that do anything to make it harder for people who are not technologically savvy to contribute? And
yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And I think I'm just. Does that? I don't know. Is that a concern that have we thought about that as a concern?
Yeah. Our big concern, actually that was an early concern of ours because it requires a GitHub account. It requires you to start a PR. It requires you to edit a markdown document. So we actually have worked on automation of we can spin up a website or some kind of web instance where you go on, you check all the things, you fill out boxes, and it's just like JavaScript, and then it sends it over to GitHub because they have an API system for that it'll just create the pull request with all those things. It requires a little more automation to get that that markdown edit in there, but I think we're at the point where we think we can do that.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Thanks. Yeah, I think sometimes GitHub is very intimidating to people at first.
Yeah, I think the only requirement we're going to have, if that website works out like we think it will, is that you have to have a GitHub account to submit that through JavaScript. Okay, that's all I have for that one. But
thanks.
I have a question too, Matthew. Who do you think is the target? Like, is it an event organizer is going to be the one to fill that out, or who do you suspect it will be the one to initiate?
Yeah, we have been working on defining different ways. I think it's going to be organizers in the end that do these submissions. People that have some kind of access to organizing of some sort. But I think we tried to be not as restrictive about it, but then we were thinking, like, if it's not organizers, then it could be pretty much anybody else that has some kind of tie into the event. We want it to be people that have some kind of administration in the event. And also we've been working on something specifically for events rather than projects, is that you have we have 5 metrics for events that we've defined in CHAOSS, the D&I working group. And we have a lot of events that are not going to meet all 5 of those metrics. So we've been working on creating tiers of types of events that will meet these metrics will be met by this event, and we classify that when we start the review. And then we take the appropriate metrics for that event and apply that to that event that's being submitted. So that's something similar may happen for projects as we go on too.
Mhm.
That's what this whole testing process is for.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question, is how do virtual events fit into, because I know a lot of it is stuff that's related to on-site and their experience on site, but obviously that's not the case.
That's a good recommendation. Yeah, we have tiers for different sizes of events at this point, but virtual events may fit in probably toward the, I mean, size is by attendance, so we may keep that, but a lot of the things that we're measuring are like code of conduct, do you measure demographics, things like that. So I think a lot of these can still be measured via a virtual event.
Awesome.
It does make me think that some of the metrics might have to be a little bit more attentive to virtual events. If I think back on the development of the D&I metrics a while ago, I think the intention was always, at least my mind, was always on in-person events. And I don't think any of them mention the word virtual event at all.
Yeah, I don't think global pandemic was on our mind.
I don't think so.
Well, we have kind of a lot of things that we've been adjusting about the metrics too, that we're going to eventually push back up to the CHAOSS metrics and some large pull requests. But one of those is probably going to end up being virtual events.
All right. Sounds awesome. Sounds like you guys are making awesome progress too.
Yeah, I have one more thing to add, sorry. We have a lot of really stellar applicants for Season of Docs. I just wanted to mention that. Tharn being one of them that has submitted microtasks. And we actually had so many and so big microtask submissions that we had to put them in their own documents, because we just have, in 20 days, we got like a bunch of replies with large paragraphs. So we're figuring out how to organize that many applicants at once. But it's going great so far.
Awesome.
Matthew, if you don't mind, may I ask you one question related to your project?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I just want to know, like, the badging system, is it only limited to the CHAOSS community, or like anyone can use this particular specific badging system for their own community, on their organizations?
Yeah, so this is open to pretty much, well, right now the projects are open to anybody, and the events are open to any event that measures something. And CHAOSS metrics, it's not limited to CHAOSS metrics either. As much as we'd like it to be like you're measuring CHAOSS metrics, it's more about you're measuring these things. So it's pretty much, and Matt might correct me on that in the structural view of it, but we're looking to measure, we're looking to just kind of foster good practices in pretty much any space we can with this badging program.
Okay. You know, like this would be something great to add into the documentation stuff as well, like how the batching system can be done, can be achieved, or like if some other external community or external projects wants to utilize this particular thing into their own community, so how this particular thing can be achieved. So I think like this would be a great thing, you know, like to research out and write in the documentation.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation.
Yeah.
We actually have a template for building new badging projects, but I think that's about as far as we got with that. So that's a good recommendation.
Okay. Great.
Okay. I think we can move on then to talk about, we have what, 3 minutes left? Do we want to talk about outreach activities beyond the podcast, blogging, Twitter, open source commons, OSSNA? What do we
Yeah,
have?
we
What
do
do
have,
we want to?
there are some OSSNA things sprinkling up next week. I don't know if, are there any
Yep.
this week? I think it's all next
I
week
think it's
now.
all next week.
Yeah,
So
I was a little confused at first, but now I'm pretty sure.
I know Matt is presenting the badging program on Monday, I think, Matt?
Whatever the 29th is.
Monday.
Yeah.
I know Georg is doing a presentation as well, right, Georg?
I have a presentation, a birds of feather about open
Okay.
source metrics, and also a panel with Dawn and Michael and keep forgetting Maria or someone to have a panel about succession planning.
Okay. Sean, is there anything with Augur?
Yeah, we have a couple of, we have a birds of a feather session and another session that I have to go remember what it is. But there are a couple of Augur sessions.
Okay. I think a lot of the sessions, I know Matt pre-recorded his, and so Matt will be available. Did you do that too, Georg? Did you do a pre-record?
No, I'm gonna do them live because for the panel, we want the interaction and
I
also
see.
feedback from the people in the audience. And for the birds of feather, I also want a more interactive session.
Okay. Sean,
Yeah,
I'm
and I
guessing.
have a session on growing participation in your company's open source projects.
Okay.
So I do touch on metrics in that one, and I also pre-recorded it because
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't
their system's a little janky. So if you didn't pre-record it, make sure you know what you're getting into before you sit down in front of the screen to do your session.
I might regret not recording, but my co-presenter, she wanted to do it live, so what could possibly go wrong? We'll see.
Yeah, the biggest limitation being that you had to upload, that they have to upload your presentation in advance in PowerPoint format.
Oh.
It's not a good thing to do for an open source conference. But
yep.
That's interesting. Huh. Okay.
Yeah, it was one of many issues with the platform. But I mean, it's hard. Like I'm sure you've all been to a lot of virtual conferences. I haven't found a tool, to be honest, that's better than Zoom. I mean, you might as well just use Zoom. Like, I don't know why people are just even bothering with these other platforms that has more limitations. But
interesting.
Yeah, I know we've done some evaluations of virtual platforms, and from what I hear, they're all kind of terrible, and there aren't any of them that are fantastic. And so it's just trade-offs. Do you make it painful for the speakers? Do you make it painful for somebody else? I don't know.
Sounds like an awesome business opportunity for someone out there. Not me, but someone else.
Well, I was thinking Zoom should get in on that. Like I'm sure they're working on a lot of issues, but this is a great opportunity for Zoom or others or even WebEx. But anyhow. So speaking of OSS, like, are we having our meeting next week? Like, I kind of added that towards the end, but
we can always just have it, even if it's lightly attended. Although, is next week the first of the month? No, not quite.
No, it's not.
It's like one day before the first, so not the first.
I won't make it next week. I have a family thing I have to do next week, so I won't be here anyway.
Yeah, I'll be at the conference. I won't be here.
You'll be at a physical conference or just?
No, I really, so the whole thing is like, this is a virtual conference, and I haven't really, I've swooped in and presented and swooped back out, and I really need to give this kind of a go of engaging with the conference. So I've just canceled all my other meetings, and I'm going to do the conference next week. Just like I would if I was in person, I would do the conference. So I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to be exhausted by the end of the day.
And I'm okay with canceling just to encourage people to attend OSSNA. I mean, all the mentees have codes, so all Outreaching and Google Summer of Code students can attend. And
I think
so-
if that's the case, honestly, I would cancel it to encourage people to
Yeah.
attend, since it sounds like most people have codes to attend.
yeah, take this hour and make sure you attend.
Mhm.
Let's do that. Can't remember the last
Sounds
time we
good.
canceled a weekly meeting.
Probably the last summit.
Probably so. Right, when we didn't even think of it, it wasn't an issue because we were all there.
Right.
So,
Right.
all right, cool. Alrighty.
So many decisions today. Oh my gosh, so exciting. Anybody else have anything else? We're 3 minutes over, so otherwise, I guess that's it. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great
Thanks,
rest of your
Elizabeth.
week. Talk to you
Thanks,
later.
everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Everyone.
Bye.
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 Sure. Bye.